How will the naturalization process change during the incoming Trump administration? Well, we have history as a blueprint to guide us here. And so here are the ways that naturalization was affected under Trump 1.0 and likely will be affected moving forward. One, increased processing times. Processing times for naturalization applications, this is the Form N-400, significantly increased during Trump's term. Average wait times for naturalization essentially doubled in many areas, with backlogs rising from about 380,000 cases to over 700,000 in 2020. Two, tighter scrutiny. So there was a marked increase in scrutiny of applications during Trump 1.0. USCIS adopted more stringent standards for background checks and application reviews. This included enhanced vetting of prior immigration history, so things that you had applied for prior to applying for naturalization, and just a broader interpretation of good moral character. Three, policy changes. As the head of the executive agencies, he can implement and direct policy changes by those agencies. So one way in which there was an effect due to policy changes was expanded denial criteria. So policies made it easier to deny applications for minor infractions such as unpaid taxes or minor criminal offenses that previously may not have led to a denial. Also, the public charge rule. Now, while this was mostly aimed at green card applicants, there was a lot of fear and confusion created due to the announcement of this rule among immigrants and leading many to hesitate in applying for citizenship. Four, increased fees. USCIS proposed and implemented increases in many immigration-related fees. And so while the proposed, I think it was like $500 increase for naturalization was actually eventually blocked in court, the agency's focus on increasing costs reflected a trend to just make naturalization less accessible to low-income applicants. Five, changes to the naturalization test as a whole. In December of 2020, USCIS implemented a more complex and demanding version of the naturalization civics test, increasing the total number of questions that applicants had to study from 100 to 128, and the number of questions actually asked during the interview from 10 to 20. This obviously increased the difficulty for applicants, especially those that were already struggling with English proficiency to begin with, or might have lower levels of education. Finally, the administration's just broader immigration policies of extreme vetting and enforcement focus prioritized enforcement and deportation, which again fomented a climate of fear and uncertainty for immigrants, even those that were eligible for naturalization but were just too scared to move forward. Many were concerned about being placed in removal proceedings if there was a denial or if issues were flagged during their naturalization application. So these changes are some changes that were reflected during the administration's, approach to immigration. They emphasize enforcement, restrictions, and just reductions in pathways to citizenship. And this is probably a foreshadowing of what we can expect the next 4 years.